let's take you up to speed here on the leaders as we head down and listen in to what's happening with Kyle Busch, starting with Dave Burns.
Well, Doc, the lead story last week was when Kyle Busch had trouble on pit road at the end of the race. I talked to Alan Gustafson about that, and he said, this week I made a move I hate to make. Moves you hate to do as a crew chief. I had to take Rick Pigeon off the jack and put Scott Radel on. So Scott Radel will replace Rick this week and for the coming days if they choose so. It wasn't a move they wanted to make, but they said we needed to try something to try to keep ourselves in contention at the end. Mike?
Well, guys, earlier we mentioned how Kevin Harvick typically races better on Sunday when he has a good performance in the Busch car on Saturday. Here's one example of how it's helping him today. On his first round of pit stops, Todd Berrier suggested that they pull a spring rubber. Kevin Harvick came over the radio and said, no, I'd rather you don't do that. Instead, let's make an air pressure adjustment. His rationale was the car is reacting much the way it was Saturday afternoon, so he made the same change they made yesterday. Let's go to Adam.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has just taken a spot away from Jeff Gordon and moved himself up to the number 3 position right now. Jr. talked about shattering the right front tire of his car when he's in traffic. But right now he's not in traffic. That's clean air going to the nose of that Chevrolet. Jeff Gordon dropping back to 4th. His crew chief Steve Letarte has played strategy twice to take the lead of this race. Jeff talking about his car struggling there to the center of the corner with front grip, and from that point off the corner with back grip. Jamie?
He won here 1 year ago. It's been over a year since he's won a race. He loves his car, and he just told us on the radio, told his crew chief, he's getting great momentum off the turns, and that's what it's all about. We got to watch Casey Kane. He's gained 20 positions. Now, right behind him, Martin Truex Jr. started on the pole, slipped back to 6. Now, on that last pit stop, the team originally was scheduled to put on 4 tires. Well, the benefit of being in the number 1 pit box, you get to see what everybody else does. They made that last-minute call, took 2 right-side tires for track position. And right behind him, actually back just a little bit, he is a chase contender, Kurt Busch. He's in that PT special you heard Dr. Punch talk about. Now, this is a car who's dominated. It dominated at Pocono, and then it went on and dominated at Michigan. So here they're looking for big things. They're going for the win. They kind of count themselves out of the championship contention, but they want to win here today. Dave?
Jamie Reed Sorensen makes his 4th start here at the Texas Motor Speedway. The car has been tough to handle off of the corners all race, wants to push toward that wall. He pitted on lap 16 with everybody, and on lap 30 made air pressure adjustments both times. He got track position back when most pitted on lap 37, and he stayed out, Alan.
Juan Pablo Montoya led this race from lap 7 to 16, but on the pit stops there at lap 16, his team took 4 tires when others took 2, so that shuffled him back in traffic. He hasn't gotten back to the front yet. Montoya right now running in 9th position. Jamie?
And Denny Hamlin, Nick Hamlin as well. They took 4 tires. They thought that was the best thing to do. They started 7th, running pretty strong. Denny Hamlin, though, early on, it looked like he got into A.J. Allmendinger. Allmendinger came over the radio and said, no, Denny had nothing to do with it. So Denny's car is good. He's looking for a win. Doc.
Great update, folks, down there with the leaders as you take a look at the 42 and the 11 side by side for 9th position. Montoya getting a challenge by Denny Hamlin.
Well, Denny Hamlin's car yesterday in practice, guys, was really strong all through that session. And Montoya, he's really falling off right now, guys.
Well, what you're seeing right there is just a 17-lap difference in tires in those 2 cars. Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in this 29 car of Harvick, you know, Jr. pitted back on 17, and so did Harvick. These guys are the ones that have really held their track position pretty well with those tires.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. told you when you talked to him, I'm going to run the high groove, and that's where he is going, up to the high groove. And he is sailing up there toward the outside as he goes by the 29 car. Take a look at our sprint speed lap for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Last time by 171.369 miles per hour. And the leader's last lap just over 170.2 for Kyle Busch.
Yeah, so he's found a home up there right now. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has. He's just flat flying around the top of this racetrack. But what I always talk about is no room for error. He's only like a foot off the wall, and sometimes 6 inches at 200 miles per hour. So, man, he's got to be a little careful.
No guts, no glory. It looks like it's fast up there. So,
well, I know you got to have guts. He's only 67 laps out of a 334-lap race, so he's got to have some brains too. And he does. He just got to keep it in check.
Here are the Ford lap leaders thus far. Kyle Busch has now officially led the most laps thus far, 21. Jeff Gordon, 20. Truex, our pole sitter, 16. And Juan Pablo Montoya led once for 10 laps. Back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations. Back in Texas, Jeff Gordon.
One outside, go ahead. He's letting you go. He's letting you go. 4,000. All the way to the cone. 4,000.
They're telling him the pit road speed. Jeff Gordon, 4,000 RPMs. That's 45 miles an hour. He had pitted last on lap 17. Stayed out when everyone else came in on lap 38, but he had to come in now for 4 tires.
Well, he was out of gas. He can only go about 55 laps on that tank of fuel, and that was a scheduled pit stop. He's kind of in trouble a little bit here, waiting on these other guys to pit, because if the caution happens to come out now, he's in big trouble.
AB.
Well, that was the whole gamble, and everything that's up at stake now for Steve Letarte is waiting for this thing to cycle around for this race team and hope that the caution doesn't come out until everyone else is pitted. They have their track position. They've gained their bonus points for leading. Now they need a little luck for the next probably 20 minutes or so.
He's running 40th right now, 1 lap down, Alan. So he's a little vulnerable until these other guys make their pit stop.
And as of right now, Jimmy Johnson would be our points leader, because they're showing the fact that the 24 car is a lap down in 40th position. Here come the others who didn't pit before, the 8 car of Earnhardt Jr. and Kevin Harvick. Mike?
And Kevin Harvick looking for a little bit more front grip, forward grip, I should say. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment, a 4-tire change in fuel on the 29 car. Let's go to Alan.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. going to get a 4-tire change. So he was just asking the crew about the shape of that front valence, that lower lip of that front air dam. So I don't know if Jr. hit something on the track, that debris that came off Jeff Burton's car perhaps, but we'll check that with Tony Gibson, the crew chief, in a minute.
Sure looks clean from here, Alan. I don't know if he's talking about maybe rubbing the racetrack and wondering if it's touching or not, but the valence looks good from here.
Juan Pablo Montoya, who had also stayed out on that previous yellow, coming in for 4 tires and fuel. Montoya has already led 10 laps today.
And Montoya's car was really starting to fall back, so he was really looking for this pit stop to get 4 tires back on his car and get the handling back.
Well, we have 4 caution flags the first 35 laps, and the last thing that the 24 car needs right now is for something to happen on the racetrack, else they're in serious trouble. Here's the 5 car, his teammate Kyle Busch, who's the leader. The 9 car of Casey Kane running in 2nd spot.
Andy, I want to throw a question out to you. We see the decision made by the 24 team not to stop on that initial caution. And you and I know, as we talked to Steve Letarte the other night, he really talked a lot about how much input Jeff Gordon has into the decision making, what goes on. He's always trying to make Jeff comfortable. When you're talking about Chad Knaus, though, he is more demonstrative in what goes on with that race car. Which strategy or which guy do you favor as far as being a crew chief? Which style do you favor as far as trying to win a championship?
That's a good question, Brad. I probably was more like Chad Knaus in the fact that I was a little more high-strung, maybe intense, more technical. Steve Letarte's a laid-back, confident kind of person that, you know, he's got a little different style, but they both work very well, and these are great crew chiefs. Both of these guys are. This looks like, you know, Steve Letarte may be in a little trouble right now. If this thing cycles through, it may work out just fine for him, but that's why these guys make the big bucks down there, Brad.
Well, right now, it's just wait and see at the moment. I mean, if the caution comes out, Gordon's in trouble. If we stay green and everybody else has got to hit pit road, he's okay again. In fact, then if the caution comes out when he's leading, then the rest of them are in trouble. So they're all sitting on his pit boxes right now, just looking for stopwatches. And it's a big wait and see right now.
It has been since 2001 that Jeff Gordon won a Cup championship. This year it seems to be different. We asked Jeff Gordon, what really is the difference this year with this whole team?
Some days you're on, some days you're off, but it's usually in the race car. It's usually in the race team, you know, and how well prepared they are, and you know how in sync you are as a team. And I feel like that's been our biggest thing this year, is that, you know, the chemistry, the communication, everything has just really been in sync this year.
All about being in sync. Steve Letarte, as you heard Brad Daugherty say, he listens to his driver and he makes some of these gutsy calls, and right now he's made a gutsy call. We just joined our coverage. Jeff Gordon pitted out of sync, stayed out on lap 38 when others came in to lead some more laps, and now has pitted and is a lap down in 38th position.
He's Steve Letarte sitting on that pit box, literally holding his breath, waiting for this 2 car or the 1 car to make their pit stop and start cycling through these other leaders. Then they'll be okay. But right now they're sitting there a lap down, and he's literally holding his breath.
Meanwhile, the 48 car, Jimmy Johnson, right now being shown 79 points ahead of Jeff Gordon in the points lead. Lap 82, and here comes another car on the pit road. The car number 9 of Casey Kane, a bit out of sequence in terms of pit stops. Jamie Little. Casey Kane, as you heard Jamie say, he's the only driver to win at this racetrack from the pole. How about that for emotion coming out of the crew? These guys, they work hard and they want to get them in. It's all about pride on the pit road.
It's
right?
all this adrenaline pump when you get out there and make that pit stop. You make it and it's really good. You jump out on that pit road and go, yeah.
Man, they're pumped up, but there's a lot of guys out there really nervous right now. I mean, this is a tough time right now, waiting to see if the caution is going to fly, when the rest of them are going to pit. Here comes our leader.
Leader of the 5 car, Kyle Busch, trying to get it down heavy on those brakes to get the car inside to 45 miles an hour. He comes down behind Matt Kenseth. Down to you, Dave.
And Kyle Busch looking for his second victory of the season in this 5 car. Right now he's saying a lot of things about the car. Mostly it needs more turnability. That's one of Kyle's words today. Turnability for the car. They're going to do it with air pressure adjustments on these 4 tires. Put more on. They have not been on pit road since lap 31. He gives up the lead. He's got fresh rubber now, guys.
Here's a 25, Casey Mears, same car he won with at Charlotte back in May. Alan?
Yeah, this team has played some strategy through the day, Doc. Darian Grubb, the crew chief, bringing Casey on for 4 tires at lap 16, just 2 tires at lap 28, and then no pit stop at lap 37. So this has been a long green flag run for this car. Casey working with front end grip, what he needs most. 4 tire stop there, just a touch slow.
2 car of Kurt Busch. You see Casey Mears coming off there as the leader, as Kurt Busch becomes the 5th different driver to lead this race here this afternoon. 2-time winner this year, won at Pocono in this car, also won at Michigan.
Pit this time.
Pit stops continuing here as Reed Sorensen comes down with a bandaged nose on his Dodge. Dave?
Rear grip is what the 41 of Reed Sorensen needs right now, so they're going to do that with air pressure. Tires all the way around for Sorensen. A good run so far today. Again, worked his way up through track position, having to give it up now for fuel and fresh tires.
Boy, right now, Jeff Gordon's loving all this stuff. These guys are all peeling off pit road, pitting, and it's starting to cycle around back to him right now.
By the way, you Johnny Sauter fans, he got a pass-through penalty for too fast exiting on pit road. Here comes the 48 car, Jimmy Johnson, who is now our points leader on pit road, slowing down 45 miles an hour. Let's see what Chad Knaus and his bunch will do. Jamie.
Well, Doc, remember 1 year ago, this is where he took over the points lead for good, winning his first championship. He's pulling into the pit box. Pretty happy with that car. They're going to do 4 tires once again. They're not going to take a gamble here. Fill her up with fuel. For Jimmy Johnson, let's see how solid their stop is. It's all about pit road as well, guys, not just the performance on the racetrack. Jimmy Johnson down and away, 13.8, Doc.
Well, a great pit stop, sub 14 seconds in the heat, and that's a good pit stop, Andy.
Yeah, that was a great pit stop, but I saw a ton of brake dust coming out of those wheels off that 48. Alan?
And here comes Tony Stewart in, giving up what was an 8th place run at the moment for a 4-tire change. Trying to work on the front end grip on his car. You see the wrench in the back right rear and a little adjustment. Well, actually, you don't out that nose camera shot. But a 4-tire change here for the 20 car. Front end grip is what this orange machine needs.
Man, we have got a fleet of them hitting pit road. They're all coming down. And here comes a 1 car. He's going to pit here just shortly. From Martin Truex.
Jamie?
Making that long drive all the way down to the number 1 pit box for Martin Truex Jr. Last stop, they opted to take right sides only so they could get that track position. They came in second. You see him do right sides there. They are going to opt and take those left sides as well, change those out. He said he's real loose getting into 3. The conditions are changing a bit out here, guys, as the sun starts to set. And Martin Truex is down and away.
Truex, who was our pole sitter and led early on twice for 16 laps, gets his stop. Here is the 11 car, Denny Hamlin, on pit road, one of our chasers. And Dave, let's go into the 07 pits.
Clinton Boyer trying to make this car good enough to win today. Right now, no change is requested from the driver. Just fresh rubber, a full tank of fuel, but nothing done to the chassis. He's happy the way it's driving right now.
Boyer coming in just 111 points out of the lead, and now it is shuffled. As these pit stops take place, there's the Jeff Burton team coming down. Right behind him is teammate Clint Boyer. 2 of the drivers that are in our chase for the Nextel Cup. Leader still is a 2 car of Kurt Busch. He is yet to pit, and on cue, here he comes slowing down to 45, and he will make his scheduled stop.
But look at the right front wheel on Kurt Busch's car. All of these guys are using their brakes really hard. We'll have to check on that, see what's going on, but a lot of brake dust like Andy's been talking about.
Busch headed all the way down the pit road, and that right front wheel is not blue, it is black because of the brake dust. Jamie.